Hey, what's up everybody? I'm Jesse, this is my garage, and today we're talking coilovers. 5 things you need to know about coilovers and how they work. Also stay tuned to the end because I've got a little tip that's gonna help keep your coilovers in operation and lasting for a long time to come. All right, well the first thing is, what exactly is a coilover? I've got these right here. This will be the one that is going on the 300ZX behind me. Coilovers are more than just a way to lower your car. They're actually the way you can start tuning your suspension. So if we're just gonna lower our car on the OEM stock shock and spring combination, the way we're gonna do it is we're gonna change the springs and basically how long they are. Number one that we're gonna talk about on the coilovers is adjustment, and how we're gonna do that on them is we are actually gonna thread. This will mount to the suspension. This threaded sleeve right here is the body of our shock absorber. We got our dust boot, and then this rod right here is a piston that goes inside this cylinder. Now, instead of changing the length of this spring, we're gonna keep this spring the length it is. That way we can get all the travel out of it. And how we're going to lower this on our coilovers, we're actually going to adjust the length. You can see here we're lengthening it. This will lower the car, changing the center of gravity. And let's be honest, just making it look a lot cooler. So we're going to be able to keep shock absorber and the complete motion that that has. Keep our spring and the complete motion that has. The only thing we're going to alter is how it mounts to the car, how low and how high it mounts to the car. Number 2 on the list of what we're going to talk about is the dampening. The piston that runs from the top mount into the cylinder that mounts to the car, the piston that rides inside of that cylinder, and the dampening fluid that is the piston floats on top of that, sealed by O-rings and all kinds of gaskets inside there. There is a little hole for the fluid to travel on either side of the piston. Now, when the shock absorber gets compressed, that fluid has to go somewhere. And on this case, just for the simple, there's different ways these are designed. This is just a simple one. Allow the piston to move down, the fluid to move above the piston, and the shock to absorb the roughness in the road, the bump, whatever we hit. That way we can keep our car riding smooth. As we move up in range on the coilover price, we're gonna gain the ability to adjust the dampening and the size, the amount of fluid that is able to pass from one side of the piston to the other and how fast it can move. Now it does this by changing basically the size of the hole in which the fluid passes through. And we can do that on these little knobs that are mounted right on the top of the piston, on top of the whole coilover assembly. And it looks like this right here. So on this one, you can see these are our ISR coilovers. We have soft setting and hard setting. I think there's a total of 30 or 32 adjustments that we have. Right now it's set in the middle, so we probably have like 16 this way and 16 that way. Now when you adjust this, you'll just feel a little click. And so now we're two adjustments to the right. We can go back to the left, and that'll put us back where we are. 32 is just the amount of clicks it's going to take to get her all the way around to one side, all the way around to the other. 16 will be in the middle. So that will let you start to tune your suspension and the dampening rate in which the shock absorber absorbs the shock and moves up and down. Of course, a stiffer rate, they're going to go towards the hard, and a softer one, maybe a little bit easier ride, is going to go to the soft. What you want these to be tuned to or set at is going to be up to you, and it'll take some trial and error, practice driving, what the conditions are that you need for your car. But that's number 2 is dampening, kind of what to expect when adjusting, and a quick little overview on how it works. This is just a quick overview. We can always dig deeper into these subjects later. All right, number 3 on our list is spring rate. What the heck is spring rate? What, right? Spring rate is the rate at which the spring compresses and how much weight it'll take to compress the spring a certain amount. So on these springs right here, on these, which you'll see on a lot of front engine, rear wheel drive cars, they kind of just do a 6 kilogram in the rear and an 8 kilogram in the front. And now what does that mean? Well, it means that it will take 8 kilograms to compress the front spring 1 millimeter. Now 8 kilograms is roughly 500 pounds. So for every 8 kilograms or 500 pounds, we can expect our front springs to compress 1 millimeter. And then the rear of the vehicle is 6 kilograms. So every 6 kilograms, the spring will compress 1 millimeter, or 336 pounds, the spring will compress 1 millimeter. As you can see, you could dive deeper into this and start adjusting your spring rates, as long as they make springs that fit your coilovers, to different settings for what you want to do. Now on a front engine, rear wheel drive car, like I said, I think the most generic setting we're gonna see is like an 8.6 spring rate. And that also is because the front of your car and the rear of your car are not the same weight. So if we look at like a Honda Civic or an Acura Integra or something that's front engine, front wheel drive, not only do we have the engine, but we have the transmission all in the front and on the front wheels. And I've seen spring rates on those be like 10K in the front and 5K in the rear. You can see there's a huge spring difference because there's a lot more weight on the front than the rear of that vehicle, and they want it to perform a certain way. So not only can we dial it in on the height, dial it in on the dampening, we can also dial it in on our spring rate and how much we want the spring to compress for how much load we're putting on the spring. We can also now we can start doing combination with the dampening force of the strut and the spring rate to really start tuning our suspension. So that was a quick little overview on spring rate, what it is, and what does it actually mean. Let's get to number 4 on the list. All right, so the 4th thing I have on this list, it also deals with the spring. You may have heard this, it is spring preload. So on our coilovers here, our nuts to lock the spring in place, and it has a little perch for the spring to sit here, and one on the top. Well, what we don't want is this to be too loose and this spring to be rattling around. Now, just a quick little thing for spring rate to set yours, we don't need to preload these springs or anything. All the thing we need to do is make sure they're gonna stay snug in their spot and do what they're supposed to. And how you can check the preload is we'll just take this and make sure this isn't free spinning. As you can see, it take a little bit of pressure, but I can spin it with my hand, but there's definitely pressure here. So when the coilover is in motion, our spring's not gonna knock out of place. It's not gonna make any weird rattling noises, and it's going to be exactly where we want it to. So that one is pretty easy. Don't get overwhelmed by any of these things. This is just a quick overview on coilovers, what they really are and how they work and go all together. Don't forget, I'm gonna give you a little tip to keep these things in operational for years to come, and your future self is gonna thank you. But let's get on to number 5. All right, well, the next item on the list, overall construction, quality, and fitment. Now, I'm sure we've all seen coilovers for like 150 bucks. And then we've seen coilovers for $1,800. And then we've seen coilovers in the middle at like 1,000. What do I want to buy? Are they all created equally? Well, absolutely not. We're gonna have a direct correlation between quality of build, fitment, and price here. So what do I mean by that? Well, I'm sure we've all seen the Donut Media high-low series where they bought some of the cheapest coilovers they could find and the most expensive coilovers they could find. And there was quite the difference in fitment between those two. Now, when you're ordering coilovers for yourself, definitely do a little bit of research. If you can find other people that have used those same coilovers and the experiences that they've had with them fitting on the car and performing on the car and not breaking when you hit your first bump because of some weld that was pretty questionable in the first place. But these ones that I'm gonna put on my car are ISR. This is the second pair of ISR coilovers that I have. I have another pair on my S13 and I'm pretty happy with them. The quality, the build quality is good. There's really no questionable areas. We've got our shock absorber, our spring, our locking rings, our chassis mount, and then our upper mount. Even comes with new hardware. And we got a dust boot inside there. Then inside that dust boot is also a polyurethane bump stop. Now that stops at the rapid compression of the shock absorber and spring, and it goes to bottom out. We're not gonna have metal on metal contact. We are going to have something there that is going to stop that and slow the rate of compression and hopefully not break anything. These ones also have dampening ability, Now, my 350Z over there, I bought that pretty much how it sits right now. It has Raceland coilovers on it, which have the height adjustability, but they do not have any dampening adjustability. So we can't change how the shock absorber itself performs. We can change ride height. And honestly, it doesn't ride that bad. It rides pretty good. As entry level as you want to go, I would highly stay away from $250 coilover springs. That's just me. You can do whatever you want. But the Raceland entry level ones, pretty good. $400, $450, something like that. You'll lose your dampening ability, but you will be able to adjust ride height. You'll look cool. You can say you have coilovers, and a little bit of peace of mind that you know you're not going to just break the weld on the first bump you hit. If you want to step your game up a little bit, I mean, the ISR and the BC coilovers, I think, are pretty much neck and neck. I think BC coilovers get a little bit more play, but whatever you ultimately do, that is up to you and your choice on your vehicle. This will hopefully just help you gain a little bit of knowledge, what to look for when ordering, and what do all these numbers mean exactly. And it's more than just lowering your vehicle. All right, well, like I said, that was 5 things that you need to know before you order any coilovers. And I've got a little bonus tip. When you do order those coilovers and get to put them on your car, the wheel well can be a pretty nasty place to live. We've got dirt, salt, debris, sand, everything getting kicked up into our coils. And we have some threads there that we would like to continue to have adjustability, keep any water and rust off of it. So I use a little bit of anti-seize on my threads. Right here where these locking rings will go. When I'm spinning them up, I'll put a little bit on there. You can probably see a little bit. That's anti-seize in there. In turn, seal the threads, keep any dirt out of there, any water out of there, any debris, stop any rust from happening. Now, I know a lot of these coilovers, shock absorber bodies are coated. Like this one has, you know, this is a nice black coating. I'm not sure what exactly they use. Have some special coating on them. And that's awesome and great, but stuff does happen and gets nicked up, and dirt just can build up in there. We don't want our coilovers to seize, or at least I don't want mine to seize, so that's why I put a little bit of anti-seize on there. See how I did that? And then I'll also thread some on this lower body part, because this is actually what's spinning when we adjust it. Remember, we learned that this is going to go up and down as we adjust height, and this is going to be the locking ring that locks it into place. So if we ever have to adjust our ride height, we will definitely be unlocking that ring, and then we will be spinning this cylinder inside of this sleeve to adjust the ride height. So we definitely want anti-seize in this cylinder right here to keep everything operating smoothly. Well, I hope you got some enjoyment out of this. I hope you learned something. There is a lot more to go into that, but this will help you to know what exactly a coilover is. Is it more than just lowering my vehicle? And get you start thinking about actually tuning your suspension and what exactly your suspension is doing when it's having these different loads put on it. Thank you so much for watching. Please hit that like button. It'll help other people find this information. If you want to see more of this stuff, you want to see these coilovers get put on the car, where all this pile of parts right here, that's all suspension stuff, get put on this car right here, hit that subscribe button. Or if you just want to see more content about how stuff works and what stuff is, definitely hit that subscribe button. You want to support the garage, be a part of the garage, head over to Patreon. Go ahead and follow me on Instagram at Build Theory. And until then, I will see you on the next one.